Alright, now it's facing down the runway. It's turning. Turning. Stopped. And here it goes. And it's up. Gear up.
Yep.
It's coming in for a landing. Is it in your pocket?
know. Is there such thing as a bomb navigator?
The Japanese had those.
The bombing.
Manned, you know, suicide rockets or.
Okay.
I read something interesting. The carrots will help you see it. And that's what I heard was that it was an advertisement that the UK was using because they had these new radars. And that's how they were able to.
Above the trailing edge of the wing, on the top of the fuselage, there's yet another hatch. It's right now probably glass. We have two. One's glass, one's a grate. That glass hatch has 4 quick releases, and that can be removed if necessary. The bomb bay doors should have to be open. You can get out from those. On either side of the cockpit, there's a side sliding window if you're small enough to fit through. And then finally, on the right side of the aircraft, looking at it in this direction, there's a hatch below the cockpit. Those of you who've seen the World War II movies, the guys that grab on, swing up, that hatch. Did you really? Cool. Stand by, Woodman. I gotta park.
Like a 19.
Come up and you go back.
Did you fly on one of these? First time.
Bringing back memories for you? Bringing back memories for you?
Yes, it does. Except I used to see them looking there back. Mine was right up in the nose.
Is that where you were?
Where'd you serve it? I was a navigator. Where at? Which theater? No, but which theater? Europe or? 8th Air Force. Okay.
Which one?
8th Air Force.
Where were they?
That was in Europe, right? That was Bassingbourn. It was Bassingbourn Air. It's about 30 miles north of London. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so okay.
So how often would you go out on bombing runs?
I flew 14 missions.
Okay.
Recently, I get back to flying.
So what made you have to bail out? Was it flak or flak?
Remember your grandfather told me a story.
a video of, you know, looking straight down out of the nose of the aircraft. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yes, it is.
Certainly better windows than a commercial flight. Like, all these up here. I mean, you tried, you know, looking around?
Yes, I have. Look up, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've lost my total idea where we are.
Yeah.
Up in Thermon. I don't know where Thermon is.
Yeah.
Sounds good. You're good.
Bill, was that person flying just
Yeah. If we could just split the first group and the second group, we'll get individual pictures of each group, and then they're going to give you the grand tour of both groups together by the experts involved. Right.
Folks, it was easy to be abreast. First group, the group that just came off.
The one that came off, I want separate.
Where do you want them at? Right over here in the corner here, sir, so we can take a picture.
No, okay.
We'll be flying the plane today. So today you're going to be going for a ride in a World War II B-17 Flying Fortress G model. There were 12,731 of these built. They were basically built by 3 companies. They were all Boeing built 2/3 of the airplanes, and the other third was manufactured by Lockheed, Vega, and Douglas under license of Boeing. So the other third was built in California, in Long Beach, and in Burbank, California, and Boeing built all those in Seattle at Boeing Field. The airplane and the crews are really, the whole thing is really iconic for 2 reasons. The first is the airplane. It was designed in 1934 and built in 34, 35, test flown in July of 35. And if you think about what you see here, this airplane, a really incredible mechanical device. 10 years prior to that, airplanes were made of wood fabric. And here you have an all-metal airplane except for the control surfaces, which are fabric. And they did that because it was easy to repair them, and also because they were light compared to metal control surfaces. But the interesting thing was they were really just learning how to build airplanes in that era. So when you take a look at this wing, now we don't have the flaps down now, but this wing is the only part of the airplane that was consistent along the whole lineage of B-17s, from the 299 type. Here, the wing was 103 feet 9 inches. It was basically built the same way. A bridge-like truss structure inside that was bar, and then the created an outclad layer over the top of that. Made this wing an incredibly strong device. And the B-17 Fortresses can take a tremendous amount of damage, and as long as it didn't have a fire, or adversely affect the fuel system, or oil, it could pretty much take anything and still get back home. So the airplane was just incredible from that perspective. Keep in mind, the Ford Trimotor in 1926-27, when it was designed, that was the first all-metal airplane this country ever saw. So to jump to this, 7-8 years later was just incredible. There were 12,731 built. Things changed along the line. The tail, the stinger, we call it. That evolved a couple times. The vertical stabilizer, which is our personal nightmare. That thing in a real gusty cross one day, that thing drives the pilots crazy. That evolved a couple times. The wall turret was replaced, or was put in place over a pan that began laid down in this. And then, of course, the chin turret and the cheek guns evolved as well. So that's basically the airplane. Crews then brought part. So interesting because these were 18 to 23, 24-year-old kids with no flying experience flying this airplane. Now, we've talked about this many times amongst ourselves. The training that these kids got during the cadets back in the 40s was incredibly intense. And a 300-hour pilot in that era would be the equivalent of a 1,500 to 2,000-hour airline transport pilot today. So the intensity of their training gave them the skills and knowledge to be able to sit there and climb into a plane like this and fly it into battle and come home.
Learn as they go.
I'm sorry?
And learn as they go.
And learn as they go, absolutely. It was an incredibly, so when Brokaw talks about the generation, the world's greatest generation, the kids that flew these airplanes, I don't care if he was the pilot or if he was the gunner or whatever, they were absolute bona fide 100% American heroes.
I'd just like to recap one thing. You said this is a 1934 design?
1934 design. 1934 is when the Army Air Corps went to a group of manufacturers and said, we want you to sit there and come up with a design for a heavy bomber with a certain speed capability, bomb load capability, and range capability. Boeing built this prototype, the 299. They built that, and every penny of it came out of their pocket. There was no government money involved. The success of this airplane, really, if this airplane had not succeeded, Boeing would have probably not be here today, and he'd be flying some other airliner.
So throughout the Second World War, we didn't come up with some other design that antiquated this?
Oh no, the B-29
design. The B-29 is a Boeing.
Okay.
But that was the evolution of the aircraft through there. But in 1934, when this was designed, it was peacetime. It wasn't. Hitler wasn't around, and all that stuff wasn't happening yet. But this, and George brought up a great point at breakfast this morning. This is what the 8th Air Force hung their hat on. So everybody trained in this airplane. They all knew they had the spare parts, they had everything for the duration of the European War mostly. Now there were a bunch of these in the Pacific region as well, but not the most widely known ones are in the European theater.
This airplane became obsolete the moment the war ended. Because technology had passed it by. But this was the airplane that had the entire support structure in Europe, and so it was the airplane they had to use. And it did its job exceptionally well. Much part of it because of the design, and the other part because of the kids. Brokahl's thing. Understand this, that in the beginning of the war, when the Luftwaffe was at its strongest, and anti-aircraft was at its strongest around Germany and occupied France, and we didn't have a long-range fighter. The Mustang was not on scene until
What was the
later.
Range of this?
I'm sorry?
What was the range of this?
This thing could be in the air 12 to 14 hours, depending at 160, upstairs, their true airspeed was like close to 300 miles an hour, but their indicated airspeed was never more than 160, 140, something like that. But these kids in the beginning of that war, they had a 30% chance on any given day of not coming home. On any given day, and they had to fly 25 missions. Work the math on that. It mind boggles us, and that's why you tell them they are the greatest generation, because they took off every day knowing there's a real good chance they weren't coming home, and they fought for your country, our country, and so when we take this airplane up and fly it and show people and give them an opportunity to walk around it and smell it, and feel it, keep in mind nobody's shooting at us, but it's the best salute that we can do to the people that flew them during the war.
This airplane was manufactured on May 18th of 45, so it never saw service. It was after VE Day and before VJ Day by a couple of months. It never saw service, and that's probably the reason it's still around. There's about 12 or so that could be made flyable in the country. There's about 3 that fly fairly regularly, out of 12,731. Most of them are pots and pans, that kind of thing.
Keeping, it's 3 of the planes that were on the ramp that day are 3 of the surviving 12. So they did not get over to Europe, and therefore they didn't get into the daisy chain that terminated in Kingman, Arizona, where they were chopped up and put back into the economy.
And as George said, 2/3 were built by Boeing, a third was by Douglas, and a third was by Lockheed Vega. This happens to be a Lockheed Vega airplane.
And they're all out of aluminum?
They're all out of aluminum.
It's aluminum alloy, yes.
From the very beginning, huh?
Yep.
Oh yes. Okay. Oh yes. That was a big thing. That's what George was saying. In 1934, this was a quantum leap.
What was the top speed of it?
257 miles an hour.
And we did a test hop on it 2 years ago after we had some hail damage and we had to replace the control surfaces. And I did the hop, and 235 was the best I could get it to. And at that point, I just said, it's not coming apart. I mean, there was no flutter. When you start changing the control surfaces, you start worrying about flutter at a high speed. Is it perfectly balanced? And so we were going out to find out, do we have any flutter? And at 235, I said, that's enough. And it was smooth. It was perfect. And,
do you know how many hours it has, this one?
yes, we do, and I don't have that exact number in my head. It's but it's in the 9,000 to 11,000 hour range.
And by today's standards, that's right.
Did you guys have to find the machine guns and all to outfit it? You know, like
we had to go out and find everything. That's absolutely correct.
This airplane was in the 50s was a high altitude photo ship in actually in the Middle East. In the 60s, it was actually a crop duster.
Oh, really?
So it had all this stuff removed. And the EAA owns the aircraft, and they have lovingly restored it over the years to its present condition, which is very close to the way it was in 1945.
We don't have the upper turret in the cockpit because it makes having that upper turret makes it virtually impossible to turn the airplane during flight or anything. So that's gone. But beyond that, most of it's very original.
When you say the upper turret,
The turret that where those guns are, those are fake.
That's right behind the pilot seats.
oh, okay.
And you'll see, you'll be up there during the flight. Everybody will be able to walk around, and you'll be able to get up there. But there was a stanchion where the flight engineer sat, and that was his gun. And he would be like right, but it takes up the whole area there, so they don't. The flight engineer was trained in the systems of the airplane, and he was the guy that would run that gun and also fix things in the airplane. We all saw Memphis Belle. He was the guy that they call him Virgin.
What was the biggest bomb?
2,000.
2,000?
2,000 was biggest. They could only carry 2 of them. Interesting, real fast thing on the guns. They're all neutered, okay, but that doesn't matter when back in the day when the Secret Service was the Secret Service, not going through what they're going through now. Mr. Clinton had decided to go get his haircut. Remember that what they call it, the $1,000 haircut or whatever? It's probably $40,000 or $50,000 haircut in San Francisco. And we were in United. We had a good relationship with United, and they would open up one of their hangar bays for our maintenance, for our 120-hour inspection on the West Coast. We're in the hangar up on jacks, and they're tinkering away, working on the airplane, and the door had to be dropped because the 747 was taxiing by with Clinton, and we had all our guns. And even though they were neutered, the Secret Service says, "No, shut the door." And when it went that way, and it went that way. And, so. Yeah.
The names on each of the areas, I'm sure that represents who was there at one time, but that's probably the last one?
Well, actually, that's an interesting question. April 14th of this year, we put together a flight out of Oshkosh before we went out on tour. The plane left 2 days later. We called it the final flight, where we had 10 World War II B-17 crew members on the plane, one representing each position, and their names were put on there for that day, and it was a very special flight. We were very concerned because the weather was kind of bad and it was windy and choppy, but it was amazing. We took off, and the skies had cleared. We went and flew our flight, and it was glass smooth. and of course, you get when we talk to flight service in the morning, and they'll sit there and say moderate turbulence, below 10, and all this other stuff. They were talking about moderate severe turbulence, and not a ripple in the sky for that flight. Came back in and landed, and that was a whole lot of fun. And for us, the best part of this experience is the opportunity we have to meet and get to know veterans that flew the plane during the war. It really makes it all worthwhile for us.
Yeah, on that last flight, you had a vet on board that had to bail out of one of these over Holland.
Yes. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. In fact, he also flew with Clark Gable. He has a picture.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah.
One of the guys that I flew with back in the 90s with the airplane was shot down on his 23rd mission, and he got his entire crew out of France and back to his name was Hal Weekly, and he had a bunch of flying time. And he was one of our pilots for he flew his last mission July of 2000 at AirVenture at our air show in Oshkosh.
This airplane is painted in the color and squadron of his airplane.
Well, hey,
thank you.
We'll get our second crew on board. You all have a great day.
So that's called the Stinger.
I didn't even know we could land.
these things really are bristling with guns.
Yep. Well, that's amazing. Designed in 34. Wow.
Now you know the B-52, when it was first designed, still had a Stinger.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, and I guess in the 80s they got rid of all of them, but it was actually like a CIWS. It was like a radar guided machine gun.
Well, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I guess that guy just came for breakfast in his jet. What an asshole.
So do you want to go and see the tractors?
Sure. Now, because this thing is in super HD mode or whatever, it's probably take forever to upload these videos.
Well, I would thank the car.